Hi friends. I know it's been a while, and in truth, I don't know what to say. So I figured I would just turn it on, see what happens. Change for me continues to be intense. Not every moment, but overall, if I had to say what seems to be one of the most important changes I'm going through now, it's to stop seeking, to stop looking outside of self for pretty much anything. Not too long ago, I gave a link from Dr. Pillai and to a set of videos, something about the midbrain and awakening, that I think it might have been what I first encountered that he had put out. Just today, I've disconnected and unsubscribed from most all of that. In all of the presentations that I watched, I was looking for heart to express itself. And in some ways it does, after all, you know, everyone has heart. But I find too much of a focus on the without there, and it doesn't suit me for who I am and what I seem to be here for. So I've let that go. I'm not saying it's a false teaching or anything like that. I'm saying what life appears to be showing me is that I need to stop looking to others to figure anything out. And so there's that. There's a narrowing down that's going on, pushing me to rely only on self and not on mind in the least. And it's funny and awkward, since being ever in now, you know, you're not in the past, and so memory is a questionable thing. And so I get to laugh at myself a lot. And it's good. It's all good. I'm finding that everything equals nothing. And everything is equal. And there's nothing better about the supposedly higher dimensions. It's like saying a frequency that's on 109 is better than a frequency that's on 99.4 FM or whatever. It's not better, it's different. It just vibrates faster. That doesn't make it better. And so this is also another teaching that's present in my life, is not to look up to other beings. Those that are in the frequencies that are vibrating faster are not better than I am, than you are. All is just equal. And in a sense, this means, you know, the blade of grass is equal to the cricket, is equal to the cosmos. It's all just nothing. Everything is nothing, and the nothing contains the everything. It's bizarre. It's gone well beyond what mind can grok, which is good in a lot of ways, one of them being that it helps push me back into heart. When we are seeking our wisdom in the words of others, the tendency is to be in mind with that, to feel the need to evaluate. And that's good. I mean, that's fine. Everything's fine. And nobody's right and nobody's wrong. But I'm just being pushed at one and the same time out of my comfort zone and into my comfort zone, a greater one, or pushed out of the 3D awareness into that which is projecting that 3D presence and avatar. And so I'm being pushed back on and into myself, nor can I define that self in any way. With each day, the neti seems wiser to me. Not this and not that. Then again, all of it. I mean, so you see where I am. How much help can I be to you here, now? That's for you to discover, because I don't know. I truly don't know. Now, I guess I have about a half a dozen written journals that I haven't shared with you yet. So this one is from July 30th. The Mayan day was for alligator or crocodile. And it's got some nice links that go with it. There are 3 of them, and in addition to the written journal itself, you know, I hope many will get something out of them. Okay, so let's time travel back to 7:30. This is too funny. Well, in a sideways fashion. Here I've been going through what has seemed a rather low time over the last 10 days, 2 weeks or something. Haven't been recording much or writing much either. It's also been a long time since doing a live recording versus reading the written journals. And today I finally found myself recording another written journal, and it had an immediate effect. Before I even finished the recording, I had both more energy and a better feeling, vibration, attitude, whatever we call it. What makes me laugh is that I'm the one always saying to others how helpful journaling is, and here I've been clearly burdened with some energy that only required some journaling to clear it up a bit. Oh well. I often tell you guys that I'm really just doing this for myself. Especially when the 12Ds speak, I like to go back over it and listen repeatedly to help lock it in. Really though, I get pretty much the same benefit by both doing these in the first place, and then when going back over them, as of course I do to record them. Well, one thing is a bit different, which is that more ad-libbing is added to the written ones when they're recorded, which also helps loosen up any stuck energy. Truly, we know all we need to know at any one moment. Try that on. You know all you need to know now. See how it feels. I found the tricky parts to be 2. One, that it helps tremendously to just know that we know it. And 2, to find a way to access it, to uncover what it is that we don't know that we know. Yeah. Anyway, journaling I found to be ideal for this whole process. It is guaranteed to speed up your process, your development, if you'll just put yourself into it. Above all, be non-judgmental with it. No self-criticism if you find mind spouting off a great deal. So what? That doesn't matter. The big thing is to get the flow of consciousness moving. If it's your intent to have it be more a heart flow than a mind flow, then that will happen. Maybe just not instantly. When we judge, self or others, or life, we shut down heart. When we judge, we're guaranteed to be coming from mind. The flow is the most important thing initially, no matter what comes through it. Self-acceptance, okay? Only once that flow is going does the journaling do its best work. So cherish what you write or speak. It doesn't matter what it is. Some of us have been shut down by authority figures hard enough or often enough in life that our tender inner parts don't want to come out and play so much. They fear being hurt or slammed yet again. So such things may take some time to loosen up and enter back into trust with you. Judgment is one sure way to shut that down. Those of you who have been with me over the number of years I've been sharing my journals will remember a time when I couldn't seem to journal at all without it coming out as poetry. The journals began rhyming on me completely outside of any conscious intent, and I found no way to change that unless I would shut the journal down. Your journals, once they get going, are not mind things. They don't come from there. Sure, you can set your intent to bring forth whatever is your desire, but it's also well and wise to know that higher self or source may have other ideas, and to make room for that possibility. After all, if source wants to speak, I bet you'll want to hear what is said. So be flexible. As I remember back to that time of the poetic journals, it was an amazing thing. One I didn't much like right away. Oh yeah, I fought it. I didn't feel like a poet, so it just didn't fit some beliefs or ideals I held. Anyway, no matter how I wished it would quit, that didn't seem to count. And since there's no way I'm giving up journaling, well, I had to learn to harmonize with it. I guess I didn't have to. I mean, I could have continued to fight it. Still, when you're fighting what you're writing, it doesn't come out as well as it could if you just let go and enable a smooth flow. Actually, that time or cycle taught me quite a lot. It showed me my own interior resistance to allow higher self to speak when and as it would. A resistance of which I wasn't previously aware. This is one illustration out of endless ones I could offer, showing how even those things we don't want, those things we resist, bring only blessings in their wake. In order to harmonize with all of that rhyming and sing-songy stuff, I had to really lighten up. I was giving mine too much control of things. I'm sure you see. We all have deep inner wisdom, my friends. Now, that's not to say it will come through in every journal, but it's really important to know that it's there, or how will we ever trust and allow it to speak? If we've always got mine there, sitting in judgment over what we're saying or writing, well, that just won't give us, that won't allow the best outcome. That's all. It's not wrong, it's not bad. Many of you are likely much looser than I was at the beginning of this. Oh, it was one thing to be doing all of that writing over the decades, but that was private, wasn't it? It's one heck of a lot easier to just let flow when you don't expect anyone else to be reading your writing. As you can imagine, it's quite another to write like that when knowing it's also for public consumption. Still, there's no need for you to be uploading your journals to get this tremendous benefit I keep touting. Heck, I spent 40 years before uploading the first one. And they still, to this day, as you see, never cease to amaze me. Their power to move stuck energy is tremendous. Not that I'm suggesting you only use them to do that. Please don't. As that would be mine, doing a this to get a that. Not so good. And you know, I'm going to step out here too and say it's as if I'm pointing to this concept called journaling, as if it's something external. It's not, but I don't know what to say about that. No, you just journal to journal, just because you feel like it. Over time, you'll begin to tune in to a sort of feeling that comes. For me, it's often an urge to write. And aside from comments and emails, this is the only writing I do. Other times, it comes as an urge to speak. So I'll do those impromptu recordings. All of the written ones are initially impromptu, too, as I very seldom have any idea of even a topic, much less what will be said. The journals have well and truly changed my life, have helped me to change me, I guess. I don't know. I've learned so very much this way, seen so many things that, though they'd been there all along, maybe for years or decades, they hadn't been seen until they appeared on the page. Well, until the words pointing to them appeared. We forget that words are symbolic, are composed entirely of symbols. It's the same with sound, for we say the same thing, but hear it quite differently depending on the language being used. Then, too, the various forms of physics and maths, these are also languages, all indirect, just pointing to things. You see? By staying with heart, we're much more likely to be anchored in the very core of things, in their origins, in what words and all the languages try to point out. It just makes sense that heart would abide at the heart of whatever the matter happens to be. It's the difference, too, between having an alive life or a dead one. Come on, we all know someone who lives so completely from the left brain that they're not in touch with much of anything that's real or at its core. It's all indirect, it's all symbols, all representations of things at the level of language and thought. Now that's fine, of course, but it's not nearly so alive as being in heart. At the heart of those things is. And I know some of you get what I mean. For others, well, I could probably write a whole essay just to explain or expound on that last paragraph. Those in heart are much more likely to take my underlying meaning, however. The inner meaning of things always rides in under the words. So it's not the words in themselves. One way to notice this is those who get stuck in the words. Some will take offense if you put forward an idea that differs from theirs. They might get insulting. Focusing so fully on the words, they're not really sensing or hearing you to any great extent and what you really meant. They're stuck on the surface of things, on 3D, not taking advantage of their multi-dimensional abilities. And if we don't personally know someone like this, we don't have to, as we encounter them all the time in the comment threads at places like YouTube. These are the ones I generally don't reply to, or they don't get a really deep reply from me. If they're not open enough to hear me, then why waste the words? They don't mean to misunderstand either. They can't help it any more than we could perhaps earlier on in this life. In a way, it's a great beauty for all of us to forget everything when we come into a 3D life. All supposedly prior stuff. Now, no, I don't advocate that going forward, but I'm saying I see how it helps with so many things. By making us all sort of come up through the ranks, so to speak, we can now understand and perhaps even empathize with those whose shoes we once walked in ourselves. An understanding heart is a precious thing, something to cherish. Just as we love it when someone truly gets it with us, truly understands on a deep level what we've said, felt, or meant, so too do others when we share some understanding with them. Too often we're tempted to be self-critical, and it's nice to be there for each other when that mood comes on. We are linked up so much more than we know, even today. We're finally getting over the mechanization concept that holds everything as separate bits, parts, and pieces, and not alive. The idea that came in with the Industrial Revolution back several centuries ago. Things became just bits, pieces, and parts, and everything subject to dissection to see how it worked. So you study life by killing it first. Not so smart. Oh well. Only so much looking back is useful. Beyond a point, what we do by focusing on that is recreated. We feed it our energy, the energy that flows over the ray of our attention. It doesn't take getting into the nitty-gritty of things to know we want to change them and to do that. For instance, what good does knowing how the motor works do for your driving the car? Does it help? Not really. Perhaps it does, but so marginally that it's not required. We can be quite competent drivers absent all knowledge of how the machinery works. Ditto for the computer. This is one bone I have to pick with those so stuck in mind that they then drag themselves down into the sludge of the dirt and details of the many dark things in life. Now, sure, there are times when that's appropriate, when for one reason or another it can be useful, but that's not the general case. In general, I find it sufficient to have a broad overview of an issue and some understanding of those things that contribute to it, that may be causative. Beyond that, though, I don't find it either necessary or even useful to get down into every detail. What I'm doing in that process is feeding my own now energy into it. Whatever it is, then I find myself feeding that. I want to pause here just for a moment and say, obviously, if you're a CPA, don't take it that I'm saying you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, because that's what that is, and that's necessary and useful. All right, additionally, it tends to bog my energy down, bringing it down to the vibratory level of whatever it is I'm looking at. It colors my world, if I allow it. Really, what extra help is provided in driving to know the ins and outs of the internal combustion engine, or whatever kind, and all of its details? Can I not trust my mechanic to tend to such things? It's time for us to get our nose up and off of the grindstone, it seems to me. It's a new and lighter, easier age that's oncoming, arriving even now if only we would look. But with our focus caught up into such things as parade for us via mainstream news, the major media, etc., well then, your cup is so full it's not sufficiently empty to receive something so new. So, let's consider replacing a lot of taking in with looking inward instead. We have more than enough in self-observing our own beliefs and how they work to hold our attention for a very long time. We're much more likely to accomplish things that will delight our hearts this way too. Time to look inward then, instead of outward. I'd recommend to everybody the Seth material. As I'm still new to it, I can't recommend it all, but I will speak up for the book Seth Speaks and for The Nature of Personal Reality, as I know them both to be worthy books. In a way, reading Seth or listening to someone read it is like listening to NDEers tell their stories of being on the other side for a while. Supposedly other side, it's all one. The perspective can be so much broader there that it's a bit shocking to be shown how narrowly we tend to view things. So, the contrast helps to show us unto ourself, and looking inward is really great. Namaste. Hi friends. I know it's been a while, and in truth, I don't know what to say. So I figured I would just turn it on, see what happens. Change for me continues to be intense. Not every moment, but overall. And it doesn't suit me for who I am and what I seem to be here for. So I've let that go. I'm not saying it's a false teaching or anything like that. I'm saying what life appears to be showing me is that I need to stop looking to others to figure anything out. And so there's that. There's a narrowing down that's going on, pushing me to, if I had to say what seems to be one of the most important changes I'm going through now, it's to stop seeking, to stop looking outside of self for pretty much anything. Not too long ago, I gave a link from Dr. Pillai and to a set of videos, something about the midbrain and awakening, that I think it might have been what I first encountered that he had put out. Just today, I've disconnected and unsubscribed from most all of that. In all of the presentations that I watched, I was looking for heart to express itself. And in some ways it does. After all, you know, everyone has heart. But I find too much of a focus on the without there, rely only on self and not on mind in the least. And it's funny and awkward, since being ever in now, you know, you're not in the past, and so memory is a questionable thing. And so I get to laugh at myself a lot. And it's good. It's all good. I'm finding that everything equals nothing.